Hey guys, this is Korak from Edureka. Welcome to today's session on Linux commands for beginners. So, before we start the topic at hand, let's just discuss today's agenda. So, when we talk about Linux commands, there are various types of Linux commands that are present. So, the first thing we talk about is the Linux directory commands, followed by the file commands, the file content commands, the different Linux user commands, and finally, we have the Linux filter commands. Also, if you do like our videos, please do subscribe to the Edureka channel. And if you're looking for a DevOps certification, then please do check out the link in the comments below. So let's get started. The first thing we talk about is the Linux directory commands. So what we'll do here is we'll take a look at each command and what they work like in Linux. So the first command is the pwd command, right? So the pwd command is basically used to display the location of your current working directory. Now, directory is basically a file. You have to realize that everything in Linux is a file. So directory is a file which contains other files as well, right? So the pwd file is used to display the location of the current working file directory that you have. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, pwd is the syntax for it, and it basically shows you whichever directory you have. So let's take a look at it. Right then. So let's say you want to check out the directory for one of your files. So let's say you go to files and you open up terminal and then you type in pwd. So this is basically your directory. It is in home and kb is the user, right? So this is basically what pwd does. Moving on to the next command. So next up we have the second command, which is the mkdir, which is basically make directory. Now make directory is used to make different new directories under any directory that's already there. So let's say for example we've already seen that we are in the directory home, and if you want to make a new directory under any existing directories that are present in Linux, you use the mkdir command. And for syntax of the command, you'll have mkdir and then your directory name, right? So let's say, for example, if you want to name your new directory, then you just have to write mkdir and new directory. So let's take a look at it, right? So you're already here in the terminal and you're inside the directory, right, with pwd. So what we do here is you make a new directory, say mkdir, and let's say new dir. So now if you basically ls into it, we'll come to ls later, but if you ls into it, you can see there's a new directory that has been formed here. So this is the mkdir command. So moving on to the next one. So the next one is basically another command called rmdir. Just like you make a directory, you can also remove a directory. So remove directory is basically used to delete a directory that you've already created. And to basically make that happen, you'll have to type in rmdir and your directory name. So let's take a look at how it works, right? So as you can see here, you've made a new directory called new dir. So to delete it, all you have to do is rmdir and directory, and it has been removed. If you cross check it, you'll see that your directory is being removed, right? So this is how remove directory command works, rmdir. Moving on to the next command. Next up, we basically have the ls command. Like in previous examples, we used ls, right? So ls command is used to display a list of the content that is present in a directory. So let's say you have a directory which is the home directory and you want to see what's present inside that directory. So if you just type in ls, it'll show you all of the files present in the present directory there. And for the syntax, you just need to type in ls and you'll get all the files that's there. So let's just check it out. So suppose you want to check out the system files inside your directory. So if you go to your computer directory, you'll just type in ls in the terminal, and these are all the files that is present in this directory, which is the my computer for Linux. Since there is no my computer for Linux, you'll have all these files, the system files that you have. So this is basically what ls does. So ls basically just displays the contents of the directory that's there. right? Now, if you want to see which directory I'm talking about this directory, which is computer, right? All of these files that you see, bin, boot, dev, etc. All you got to do is just type in ls and you can see them. So this is the ls command. So moving on to the next command. So the next command we see is basically the cd command. Now the cd command is used to change the directory that you're currently in, right? So if you go to the computer directory with all the system files that's there, just type in ls and you can basically see all the files that's there, right? So you want to go into one of those files and check the contents of those files, right? You want to change the directory. Now these are subdirectories that are already present in the computer directory, right? So you just change directory to, let's say, bin or library or dev. So you just need to type cd, change directory, and the name of the directory, right? And you will basically get into that directory. So let's just check it out. So basically, guys, if you can go to terminal, you see right now you're in the root directory. The root directory is always shown as a slash. It's a forward slash, right? So if you want to change directories, let's say, let's check out the directories that are there. Check out the contents of your root directory. You will just have to type ls and you can see these are directories. So to change the directory, what you have to do is simply type in cd and choose any of these directories that you have. Let's say you want to get into bin, and that's it. You go into bin. Now your directory has changed from the root directory to the bin directory. Now the bin directory is a part of the root directory. So we have slash and then bin. But now you've changed your directory to bin. So this is the cd command. So moving on, first we saw the Linux directory commands, now we move on to the Linux file commands. So there are various Linux file commands. The first one we talk about is the touch command. So basically the touch command is used to create empty files, and you can create multiple files by executing the touch command only once. For example, if you see here, you can create an empty file called file.txt, and you can also create two files in the same command. So you now, as you can see, if you type in touch file2 or file3 or whatever the name of your file might be, you can create n number of files at one go. So this is basically what touch is used for. And for the syntax, touch, basically you have to write touch and then the file name. And if you want to make two or more files together, you can write touch and then add the file names one after the other. So let's check it out. So guys, I'll basically make a file in this folder called Linux that I have, right? So all I need to do is just, as you can see, there are other files as well. So let's see how we can create a new file, and all you have to do is open in terminal. So guys, as you can see, I have basically just cd'd into this and it's in the Linux folder like we saw before, and we'll create a new file. Just to do that, you'll have to type touch and Edureka 2, for example, and after that, you'll just have to check it out. So, Edureka 2 is basically a file that you've just created. Now, if you want to create another file, for example, two files together, check that out as well. Let's first clear this out. So, to clear your terminal, you'll just have to type in clear, and that's it. Right. So, let's create more than one file together with one command. You'll have to type in touch and name of your file. Let's say my name's Korak. I will type korak11.txt and korak12.txt. So these have been created. Let's check them out. So as you can see, there are two files that have been created, and you can see that there's only one single touch command that I have used. So this is what touch is used for. So basically, the next command is the cat command. Now, the cat command is one of the most frequently used Linux commands, right? So the cat command is short for concatenate. Now, what this helps us to do is it helps us to create a single or multiple files. So if you have created an empty file called touch, you can basically add content to it if you type in cat. So it allows us to create single or multiple files, view contents of the file, concatenate files, and redirect output in the terminal of files. So what it does is you can copy the content of a file and put it in another, and will show that as well. So let's see an example of how cat works. And the syntax for cat is, if you want to create files, you know, files with content in it, you'll basically have the cat command followed with the greater than sign and the file name. And if you want to concatenate, basically copy the content of one file to another, you'll have to write cat and file name. So let's check it out. So basically, the cat command can be used like this. Let's say you want to insert something into the new file you've just created. We created code.1.1. So basically, what you can do now is add content to it. So let's say hi, and to basically get out of it, you have to do Control D, right? And that is you adding content to your file. Now, if you basically check this and just write code. See, this is basically showing you the content of the file that's already there. And this command is basically letting you add content to the empty file that you created using touch. So up next, we have the next command, which is the rm command. Rm is basically short for remove, and it is a command which is used to remove a file. And the syntax for that is rm followed by file name. So let's check it out. So if you want to remove a file, you'll have to first go to the directory where the file is present, and then once you enter the directory, you'll just have to type in rm, and post that you'll have to type in the name of the file. For example, since I've already created a file called korak11.txt, if you put rm that and it's removed. So just to cross check, korak11 file has now been deleted. Now let's try this file as well. Right. So if you just type in korak1, so since 11 is not there anymore, you'll have korak12.txt, and you do this and now check it, you'll see that korak12 has also been removed, right? So this is what rm does. So up next, you'll have the cp command. Now the cp command is used to copy a file or a directory. Now all you need to do to use a cp command is type in cp and type in the name of the files that you want to copy, right? So let's say you want to copy a text file called Eureka into another text file called demo.txt. So all you need to do is type in cp and the name of the two files that you want copied into, right? The first name is the file you want to copy the contents of, and the second name of the file is the file you want to basically copy it to. So let's check it out. If you basically go into the Linux directory that you have, that's basically a folder that I've created, and these are the files that are present in there. So you want to copy the contents of one file into another. All you need to do is type in cp and the name of the first file that is already existing, Eureka1.txt, and new.txt, right? And all you need to know here is you can go check the contents of the file after this, right? So if you go and check out new.txt, it's basically empty. Why is that? That's because edureka1 is also empty, right? So if you basically add some contents, let's say hi, and save this and just shut it down back again, go back to terminal, and now let's check this out again. Just copy. So you can just do this and check it out again, right? So if you go back to your file now and open up new.txt, this is the same content as your edureka1 file. So this is what copy command does. So moving on to the next command is the mv command or the move command. So the move command is basically used to move a file or directory from one location to another. So all you need to do to use the move command is basically type in mv, then the name of the file that you want to move, and finally the name of the directory you want to move it to. So let's check it out. So you're basically in the directory where you have your files. Now you want to move your file to another directory. So you have to just type in mv, the name of the file that you want to move. Let's say you want to move new.txt, right? So new.txt, and where you want to move it to. Let's say documents, or let's say now if you basically now check it with ls, your new.txt file has gone off to the documents folder. Next up, we have another command which is the last of the file commands that you have. This is the rename command. Now, the rename command, as you can see, is used to rename files. It is useful for renaming a large group of files. And the basic syntax for that is rename and then apostrophe s with the name of the old folder and then the name of the new folder. And after that, you'll basically have to show which type of file you want it to be. So this is how you basically do renaming. So let's check it out. So you basically just type in rename command with the old text file, and basically you want to convert it to new text file, which is basically you want to convert it from a text file to a PDF file. So this is the command you give in and then press enter, right? So you've now changed rename all the text files into PDF. So let's say if you ls into that now, you can see it's demo3.pdf, edureka1.pdf. All of these text files have been changed into PDF because of the rename command. So this is how rename works. Moving on to the next command. We've all checked out the Linux file commands. Now we move on to the Linux file content commands. So when it comes to file content, the first thing we can see is the head command. Now the head command is used to display the content of a file. Now the content of a file can be displayed with other commands as well, but the head command, how it's different from the other commands, is that it displays the first 10 lines of the file. And basically the syntax for that is you just have to write head and the name of the file you want to show 10 lines in. So let's check it out. So now if you check out the head command, let's say for example you type in head and basically the first 10 lines of a file that you want to check, let's check it out. Right. So as you can see, the first 10 lines have been displayed. Now if you want to check the contents of that file, I'm going to show it to you. Yeah, as you can see, the first 10 lines are from 10 to 100, and the rest of the lines have not been printed. If you can cross check back here again, so it's 10 to 100 with no other content that's here. So, head is basically something that is used to show the first 10 lines of your file, right? So, moving on to the next command. So, next up, just like head, we have the tail command. Now, the tail command is used to display the last 10 lines of the file content. Just like head is used to display the first 10 lines of the file content, tail is used to display the last 10 of it. Now, it is useful for reading error messages, right? So, tail is basically something which is used, and after tail, you just have to specify the file name. So, let's check it out with the same file that we saw before. Right then, so just like head, let's just try using tail, right? And so the last 10 lines are these. As you can see, as in head, if you can see here, I'll just show it to you. Edureka. So if you put head, you can basically see it's from 10 to 100. That's the first 10 lines of the file. But in Edureka 2, which has tail, it'll show you the last 10 lines of the file, right? This has no 10 to 60 here. It starts from 70. Now this is the difference between head and tail, right? So move on to the next command. So up next we have a very important command which is the tag command, right? So the tag command is the reverse of the cat command that we have used before. So it displays the file content in reverse order. So let's check it out, and basically the syntax for it is just tag and then file name. So let's check it out. So if you want to see the content of your file, just type in tag and the name of the file that you want to see. As you can see, tag has basically displayed the content of this file in reverse order. If you want to check it out, you can again check this. So this has 10 to 150, and if you check here, tag Edureka 2 has made it 150 to 10, right? So this is what tag does. Now moving on to the next command. So up next we have the mo command. The mo command is basically a similar command to the cat command, and it is used to display content the same way cat does. So the only difference between more or cat is that in case of larger file sizes, the screenful output is displayed. So for this, I'll have to show you an example. Since we do not have many large content files, we can just check some of the files that we have, check them out. And the syntax for more command is basically more and then file name. So let's check out the more command, shall we? So let's basically check out the more command, right? So if you type in more and let's say, right? So when you have more, you basically type in more and then the name of the file. So this will basically display the content that you have in the file, and it's just like cat. Now, the difference between cat and more is basically more is generally used for larger files, right? Files with larger amount of content, larger sizes. So this is basically all about more. It will help you show the content that is there in the file. It's just like cat. So the next command is the less command. So the less command is similar to the more command but has some added features to it, right? So along with the fact that similar to the more command, the less command will show you content on your file. It automatically also adjusts the size of the terminal window that you're using, right? So the basic command for less is less, and then you'll have to basically have the file name. So let's check it out. So let's just check out what the less command does and the file name. So this will basically give you the content that you have, the contents of the file that you have, and automatically reshuffle or adjust the length and breadth of the terminal that you have, right? So this is what less does. Moving on to the next command. So after that, we have the different Linux user commands, right? So when it comes to user commands, the most important is the su and the sudo commands. So the su command provides administrative access to another user, right? So in other words, it allows access to the Linux shell to another user. So let's check it out. And syntax for it, that's very basic. So you'll just have to write su and specify the username, right, of your Linux system. So let's check it out. So all you need to do here is go to terminal and type it su and then the username. My username is KB, as you can see. So now you have to specify the password. So this is something which allows access to somebody else, right? If you type in su, so you can basically use their Linux system, right? You have been allowed access into KB's Linux system if you have password and if you know the username as well. So this is what su does. So next up we have the id command. Now the id command is used to display the user id and the group id that you have. So you have a user id for your Linux system, you have a group id for your Linux system, and the command for that is id, right? So let's check it out. All you have to do here is type in the word id and you'll basically get your user id and your group id as well along with the username. So this is what id does. So next up we have the sudo command. Now sudo command, let's just show you. Sudo is something which is used extensively in Linux to give you access to files which need permission, right? User permission, administrator permission to access them, right? You need administrator permission to access certain files. So how do you do that? Let's say, for example, if you go into the terminal for your computer, you go into this computer and you go into terminal and let's check it out. You do ls and then you cd into one of the directories, and all you have to do now is see the files that are there, right? So these are all the files that are there. Now if you want to access one of these files are actually administrator protected, so you need to have sudo to basically ask for permission which has to be granted by the administrator. So just type in sudo, then let's say sudo zip, and you'll have your password. So these are restricted, and basically as you can see these are restricted because this is basically machine understandable language, and you can already see that this is basically what is there in the file, which is the zip file. So this is what sudo does. So this was a very important command that you needed to know. So moving on to the next command. So next up we have the user add command. So the user add command is used to add or remove the user from the Linux server, right? So if you add or remove a user, you'll have to have special permission for which you'll have to use the sudo command as well, right? So you just type sudo and then user add and then you add the new user. Sudo has to be because you'll have to have special permission from the administrator to do this. And the syntax for user add is user add, and then you basically add the username. So let's check it out. So you basically want to use user add, right? This will basically add user. What you need to do is add sudo and then the user add command and the name of your user. Let's say I want it to be KB9, right? It'll ask for your password. Your new user has now been created, and let's move on to the next command. So the next command is the passwd command, which is the password command. So the passwd command is used to create and change the password for a user. So let's say, for example, you have to use sudo here as well. You have a user already present, and if you want to change password, just sudo into that user, type the new password, retype the new password, and then basically it'll show you the password has been successfully updated. And the syntax for this is passwd and then username. So let's check it out once. So just type in passwd then kb. That is basically your user right now. So we'll basically change the password for kb since it's already an existing user which has a password, right? So current password is already there. What your new password to be is, and you have to retype it, right? So the password has now been updated successfully, and this is how you basically use the passwd command. So next up we have the group add command. So the group add command is basically used to create a user group, right? So when you create user groups, you'll also have to use the sudo command because you want to access restricted files, right? So the syntax for group add is group add and then group name. So let's check out the group add command. So first of all, you have to type in sudo and then group add and then group name. Let's say we name our group Edureka 2022 and then password for KB, which we've just created now. So now this group has been added into this user. So that was basically how you use the group add command. So finally you come to the Linux filter commands. Now there are various filter commands that Linux has. The first thing you can see is the cat command. Now the cat command is also used as a filter, right? Now filtering here means to filter a file. It is used for inside pipes. Now you basically filter out the content that is there. Now if you want to filter using cat, you'll have to write cat and then the file name with cat or tag and then cat or tag again, right? So you'll have pipes in between and you'll basically have the cat and tag commands back inside pipes. So let's just check it out. So if you want to use the cat command as a filter, let's check it out. Type in cat home and then we'll basically have this, which is the pipe, and then the command tag, then cat, finally we'll have tag. So this is basically what the cat command does as a filter. Next up is the cut command. Now the cut command is used to select a specific column of a file. So the D option is basically the delimiter option and the F option is basically the column. So the D option is used as delimiter and it can be a space or a slash or a hyphen or anything else. Whereas F is the column number and the syntax for this is cut and then you put the delimiter, you put the column number and then you put the file name in the end. So let's check it out as well. So with the cut command, you'll just have, you type in cut, then you'll have the delimiter, after which you will have the F and the file name in the end, right? So this is basically what the cut command does. It cuts out from a specific column and the specific column number. Since there's only one column here and we specified F2, there is no cutting out. So if we do the same thing again and change F2 to F1, let's see how it's different, right? So this is basically what F1, F2 does. It shows you the column name and it'll show you basically a specific part of the file that you want. You'll cut out a part of that file and it'll show it to you. But since we have only column 1, it'll show you just the column 1 here, right? So this is what cut does. Moving on to the next command. So the next command is the grep command. So the grep command in Linux is the most powerful command and it is used to filter the Linux system, right? Grep stands for Global Regular Expression Print, right? So it is basically very useful for searching content from a file, right? So for example, you need the syntax as basically command and then grep and then you search the word, right? So let's see how grep works. So let's check it out. So to basically check out how grep works, let's check this out. Let's say cat and Eureka2. Then you'll basically have this with grep3. So this is basically every content in the file which is Eureka2 which has the value 3 in it. So these are the two values which has 3 in it and that is what grep is showing. So this is how grep works. So moving on to the next command is the com command. Now the com command is used to compare two files or streams, right? So by default, it for displays three columns. The first displays the non-matching columns of the first file, the second for the second file, and third displays the non-matching columns for the third file. So the syntax for this is fairly easy. It's just com and then you specify the file names that you want, right? So let's just check this out. So if you want to check out how the com command works, let's see this com and basically add the two folders you want and the contents of it which you want. So these are all the files content that is there in both the files, right? Input is not in sorted order, but the file number one is not in sorted order. And so this is basically showing the content of all of the files that I have given, which is Eureka2 and home, and the content which it has, right? It displays it in three different columns. So this is what com does. So checking out the next command. So the next command is the sed command, right? So the sed command is short for stream editor. Now, SED is used to edit files using regular expression. It does not permanently edit files. Instead, what it does is the edited content remains only on display and it doesn't really affect the actual file. So the syntax for SED is basically the command and then SED with apostrophe S and the old word with the new word, right? So if you want to check it out, let's see. So basically for having SED, you'll basically have to show the stream editor. So this is the command for it. You have to put SED echo and echo is basically used in Linux and you basically have this thing printed called Eureka 7, right? So as we can see, SED is used to edit files using a regular expression, right? So it doesn't really permanently edit those files, but it's only for view. You can't really change what's there in the content. So as I showed before, if you write class echo7 with SED and change it in class, so this is just for view. Eureka 7, what you see is for view. It hasn't really changed the content of it, right? So next up, we go to the next command, which is the T command, right? So TWE command, which is the T command, is similar to the cat command. The only difference between both filters is that it puts standard input or standard output and can also write them into a file. So let's check it out. Also, the syntax for T command is the cat and then file name, then followed with T and then with new file. And then you have cat attack. So let's check it out. So as you can see here, the TEE is basically putting in standard input, standard output, and writing the same thing as you can see in Eureka 2 into the new 98 file as well. So this is what T does, the T command. So moving forward, we have the TR command. Now the TR command is used to translate the file content like from lowercase to uppercase, right? So if you have some sort of content in a file which is in lowercase, you can change it to uppercase. And the syntax for that is basically command followed tr and the old word to the new word, right? So let's check it out. So guys, when you're talking about the cat command, you'll basically have to write cat and the name of the file followed with tr, which is translate, and then just replace the file with the old file, then replace the word from the old word to the new word. So let's say we have hello as the old word. I want it to be uppercase hello, right? So it'll show me hello world, right? We go back to the file now, it shows you hello world, right? So hello world is like this. and I wanted to basically make it uppercase. So this is what I have to do to make it uppercase. Use the tr command. So next up we have the unique command. So the unique command is used to form a sorted list in which every word will occur only once, right? So the syntax for this is the command followed by the file name and slash unique. So every command has to be there only once. There is absolute redundancy. So let's check it out. So all you have to do for the unique command is basically type in sort followed by the name of the file you have and put in unique after that. If you do this, this is basically showing you everything in the content only once. So there is redundancy that's there. Everything is unique. So this is about this unique command. Moving on to the next command. We have here our final command, which is the WC command, right? So the WC command is used to count the words, lines, and characters in a file. So let's say if you want to count the number of characters you have in your file, just type in WC followed by the file name. So let's check it out. So finally, we come to WC. So what you have to do here is type in WC and the name of the file you want. Let's say you want home, right? So this is basically showing you the number of characters that the home file has. Home file has certain content in it, and that content has around 48 characters in it. So that is all about the WC command. So with that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you and have a nice day.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!